Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the BB&J Show, or Manga 3 if you're keeping up. I'm gonna keep going with this until somebody writes in the comments to stop. So we'll see how long it takes. I am Jay, and I am here with the esteemed BB. Say something for the adoring fans, the masses yearning for your voice.
Hi.
Hey, you know what? We got a lot of sound out of him that time. How was your week, BB?
It's going well. I think it's pretty packed with all the stuff we're gonna talk about. I'm excited to the topics today are gonna be pretty good.
There you go. There's that showbiz rubbing off on you, kid. Speaking of today's episode, we do have a lot to get to, and I am really excited for it. We're going to clean up some of the CyberPunk stuff that we spoke about last week. We're going to talk about the March releases, which we have the release date calendar as we are heading towards March. And we're going to have the Elden Ring. We're going to talk a little bit about Elden Ring and the hype that it's gotten, because it's been reviewed unbelievably well. But it's also kind of a mixed bag, because we also had some PC player experiences. And then, of course, BB, you're going to tell us your experience that you've had, because you've gotten it and you've been playing it. And then we're going to get into something that I'm really excited for. Best gaming experiences and worst gaming experiences. And that's going to be really, really exciting. So I hope you guys all enjoy as much as we're about to have fun with it. But let's get right into it with CyberPunk. You've played a lot, I think. I've seen the little Steam notification come up. BBansky's playing CyberPunk. So you've played it pre-patch, now you've played it post-patch. Give us some of your thoughts now that you've had a week to digest the CyberPunk and its patch.
I will say this. It's definitely a lot better than it was when it first released. And we're talking about optimization a lot better, but also with content wise, like things that are actually in the game. I think the biggest impression was how the city feels with this patch. It feels more alive. Like I don't know, I don't know if that's in the actual patch itself that they said, but what I felt was like it felt like more filled. And it also did feel like it was louder, right? Like you're in an actual city, right? Like I remember going into like the bars or just in the street in general, like through the market area, right? Because I wanted to see that's where most of the people are in, right? And it does feel a lot more alive than it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, I was over here in the market area and the bar areas and just in the street in general. And it just felt loud, pedestrians, like, the little conversations pedestrians were having. So that wise, I think my overall experience for it was pretty good. They added a bunch of features, really cool little things. The driving is a lot more stable than what it was when it first released. I remember that was super, super clunky. Now it feels a little bit, like an actual vehicle, right, when you're driving it. So smoother. I think it's headed in the right direction. It's not like, I will say it's not 100%.
Yeah.
It's not 100% what we were quote unquote promised, right? Or what they had told us in the beginning when they were hyping this game up. But it's definitely it's going in a good direction, and I'm actually excited to see what, like, let's say 2.0 will be, right? I feel like if they get to that point, we'll probably see the CyberPunk that we've all been like pretty much waiting for.
So I want to touch on something you said where you were like it felt more alive, and that's something that I felt very keenly, because I didn't get time to play much of it. I think I played maybe 20 minutes with all the busyness that I had going on. But I literally was at a point in which I was in the apartment, because it was a very early game. Was in the apartment, and I walked out and I got in the car and drove down the block to where I was supposed to go to continue the story. The moment I walked out, just walking through the building, first of all, it feels more alive. It actually feels more dynamic. It actually feels more like it's an actual place where people live and will be walking around and that sort of thing. And then when you step down, if you've not played CyberPunk, in the building that you live in, when you're going to the street, you sort of step down some stairs underneath, and you sort of see the street in front of you, and it was just it felt more full. It felt more packed.
Yeah,
It felt
exactly.
more, like it was actually a city where you would see before sparse pedestrians maybe doing a loop or whatever. You actually saw
Yeah.
things. Now, I didn't go through and find every pedestrian and follow people, and I didn't dive deep into it. But just on a surface level, just seeing it, I was like, wow, I could see the difference. And I got in the car and I drove a little bit to see how the driving was, and it was much more smooth. Almost, I was so used to like Grand Theft Auto driving
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I kind of I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I had to get used to the handling again. So I think they did do a good job. I think it is heading in the right direction. Of course, as I said last week, I lament the fact that it's taken as long as it's taken to get to this point. And I feel like they've lost, unfortunately, too many people.
Yeah.
But
True.
they didn't lose as much as Halo Infinite. So
Oof.
there's that.
That's facts.
There's that. So, they at least have that over to hold on to. But yeah, so I'm glad for the CyberPunk stuff. I'm glad that they have sort of taken the step in the right direction. But, it in some respects, I unfortunately feel like it could also be a little too late. You know?
You're right. You're right.
And that's the real shame, because I do feel like even if it's not a thing of with the main character, I felt like the world was rich enough that you could have told more stories. And
Of course, yeah.
I don't know that we'll get the experience to see that, or the opportunity to see that, just because I feel like Cyberpunk is a meme now. And
Yeah, true. I mean, if you pick it up now, I think there's the sales going on till like the beginning of March or so. Um, I think with the patch that came out, it's a perfect time to get it. If
Yeah.
you're interested, if you haven't played it, I
Yeah.
mean, at half off, you're looking at a pretty good sale in most like platforms.
yeah, and I mean, honestly, if you were to ask me honest assessment, even pre-patch, was it worth $30? I would say yeah, from my experience. So
Mm-hmm.
with this patch, would it be worth $30? Or half off, whatever, translated the currencies and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would say absolutely. I think
Yeah.
it's a game that you can play even if you don't feel it has replayability, which some people don't feel like. I think it's worth playing at least once, in my opinion.
Yeah, true.
And so, speaking of games and patches and new things, and we have a list of releases for March.
Yeah.
Uh,
We have a few pretty I would say for March it's kind of like some of them are pretty like good because they've been waiting, a lot of people have been waiting for these.
yeah,
It's kind of like like last month, a lot of people were waiting for some of these games that have been pushed back.
mm,
One of them is pretty interesting, and I'm sure you'll know which one. But so we're starting off March with Gran Turismo 7.
yeah,
This is like a throwback for me because I remember playing Gran Turismo like PS2, PS1.
mm-hmm,
Like those were like one of the really biggest racing games, simulator games, right?
mm-hmm.
That's March 4th, Gran Turismo 7 for PS4 and PS5.
Yeah,
So I know a lot of people will be looking forward to that. Up next on the 10th, you have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dawn of Ragnarok DLC. I know a lot of people are kind of a bit hyped for this, just because of the whole, the Ragnarok theme that they're going for. I hear
Great
that there's
film.
like a bunch of like abilities. Oh yeah, yes,
Yeah,
that
best
movie is amazing.
best Marvel MCU movie out there.
Yes.
At me.
No, I mean, I'm right there with you. Yeah, Ragnarok was such an amazing movie. So funny. Everything about it is just good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's for PC, PlayStation, Xbox platform as well. Later on the 11th, we're going to get WWE 2K22. Now, I haven't played 2K. I haven't played 2K in like for a minute. I think the last time I played 2K WWE was like PlayStation 2. Okay, like I remember doing those cage matches and everything. Oh my god.
I'm ashamed to admit that I have played 2K20 WWE.
Okay, I mean they're fun games. I think those should just. Oh, 2K20, no?
2K20 was known for, so to give you a little bit of a backstory, and I will say I won't go too much on a tangent, but I want to keep. I'm interested to see how this releases, because 2K20 they midway through the studio that was developing the game, that had been developing all the WWE games up until that point, Ukes basically left. They left midstream. And so I think a new studio took over. I forget the exact name of the studio, but 2K20 was a buggy, bug-ridden mess. I mean, just Google if you ever want to laugh. WWE 2K20 glitches. I mean, it was unplayable at one point. Like, it made CyberPunk look like a polished, perfect game. And so it was so bad that they canceled 2K21. So they took they took an entire year off because they were doing annual releases up to this point. They took an entire year off, and now they've released WWE 2K22, and they've added some modes, and they promise stability and all new features and bells and whistles. So I have a friend who's very interested in these kind of games. He paid $150 for a version. I'm calling him out. I will be gauging, seeing him and how it plays through him. I'm not gonna be I won't buy it at full price. If it's on sale, like I bought Madden 22 half off. I'm like, all right, for half off, it's fine. Like if it goes on sale at some point for half off, 60% off, whatever, then I might take a flyer on it because I do love wrestling and WWE. So we'll see. But I'm very interested in 2K22. Continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. I was a little excited for that because when I saw it, because I was like, oh, it's been a minute since I've played 2K, WWE 2K. So I'm actually wanting to see now with what you said. I'm even more excited because I'm like, okay, let's see what they have now.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one up on the 15th, we get the best game of all time for another release. Possibly, being released as many times as Elder Scrolls at this point, right?
I have a question. You think Rockstar, because Rockstar's trolls, are they screwing with us? Like, oh, you guys are going to keep buying Skyrim? Well, keep buying GTA if that's the case.
I mean, at this point, it seems like it is, right? Like, they're just, they're just going for it. And right now, we are getting, finally, GTA 5 for whatever time this is. PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. So this is the next gen console update, or not update, but more like release, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's people out there who are definitely excited for this.
I find it, like, if you really think about it, GTA 5 released 9 years ago. It released on the PS3. It has been a thing through an entire console generation. Think about that. Like, think of a game that you played on PS1. Think about a game releasing on PS1, being re-released on PS2, being re-released again on PS3, and constantly being updated with experience. I mean, it's like an MMO at this point. It's just around. It's like herpes. It's not going away. It's like it's constantly there.
Okay, yeah. Damn it, Jay.
Still got it.
You just had to pull a fast one, huh? But yeah, we're gonna get GTA 5 again, and I know a lot of people are gonna be excited, especially if you have a next gen console. You'll finally be able to, go on your crazy heists and do your. What is it? Their Perico heist?
Oh, yeah. Have they said what sort of features are being added to next gen? Because I feel like a lot of these games that are getting next gen upgrades, like Witcher and CyberPunk and GTA, they're not really getting more content, or if you will, or features. They're just like getting a fresh coat of paint. Is so far as what I'm seeing.
I think the biggest thing on it is the load times, because oh man, like
yeah.
GTA load times are
legendary.
You could go sit and watch Sharknado about 2 times before you log into a lobby.
You'll die of alcohol poisoning. As that movie will drive you to drink.
Okay. Moving on. The next game as was actually delayed quite a few times. It is going to be on the 25th, and this is Ghostwire Tokyo. Now, I have sort of kept up with the game because I kind of like slept on it just because it was pushed back too many times. So I was just kind of like, oh, it'll probably just release whenever it's ready, right? Which looks like now is the time on the 25th, and this is for PC and PS5. So this is like a next gen console exclusive, right?
Yeah.
And this is kind of like one of those like first person. It looks very like, I don't want to say roguelike, but it's kind of like fantasy based, where it's like I guess it's like paranormal in a way, but like action packed. First person, like you got like powers and you use weapons. Looks pretty unique, but it is a next gen title.
It's gonna be interesting to see how
on the 25th.
It works on PC versus console.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. I mean, that I feel like that's a thing now. It's gonna be a thing, right? Like the next gen console versus like PC.
That's gonna be the
because it's always been about like PC and then the consoles, right? There've always been like that whole comparison. But now I feel like it's a deeper one because we'll get into that soon. The next one, oh no, not next, not like following date or whatever, but on the same day, there's two more games. We have Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I know a lot of Nintendo fans are going to be super excited for that because I saw where you could literally eat a car and turn into a car. All right, that's enough for me to say I want to try that game.
That sounds like me in college.
Wait, what? Okay.
It's best if we don't go too deep into my college days.
That's gonna be coming out on the 25th as well for the Switch. I'm excited. Kirby's cool. I haven't played Kirby in a long time actually. I think the last time I ever touched a Kirby game was like maybe DS or so. I don't know. This is a while back.
I'm not huge on Nintendo, but I do remember back in the 64 days playing Smash Brothers, and Kirby was just OP. So.
He's still OP.
Yeah. I mean, this is a vacuum and eats everything and becomes.
I know.
What it's like. In the old Pokemon Stadium, if you had a Ditto, you pretty much could win.
God.
just using a Ditto. So I respect Kirby. It should be exciting. We know a lot of people in the community who love Switch and who love playing Switch games and stream Switch games and everything. So it's going to be interesting to see if this gets some airtime within the community of friends that we know, and to see what is said about it. But Nintendo releases solid games. I mean, even though I'm not a huge fan, their releases are almost always solid. I don't want to say always because somebody will come out and be like, well, but this game here was almost always solid.
I don't know if it's probably a engine thing, because I mean, if you compare them to like the AAA titles that come out for PC or like consoles, right? It's the comparison is like, it's almost, you can't almost compare it, right? But I don't know if it's that, but whatever it is, they usually, like you're right, they usually come out with solid games that don't really have any problems with them. Yeah, and if they do, they're pretty quick to fix them.
Yeah, I think part of it has to do with, and this isn't a shot on the Switch, but, the Switch isn't as powerful as, say, a PS5 or PS4, I think, you know. You could check me on that, but I'm pretty sure on that. So I think when games release on a more powerful system, devs want to throw as much as they can into it, feature bomb, and coding you put one thing in, you can break 6 other things. So I think just by sheer number of how the structure of the systems work, Nintendo has set themselves up to sort of release more technically solid games, even if the Switch itself isn't as powerful as some of the other consoles or PCs or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, some people value that. Some people, like, I honestly am a huge fan of Super Mario. I have not bought a Switch. Last Nintendo console I had was a GameCube, but I still enjoy the Mario. I still enjoy the Mario games and stuff when I can play them. So I mean, I could see being happy with a consistently good Mario game every once in a while released.
Yeah, you're right. Those are they're pretty well done games. And finally, to close out the month on that one, another game on the 25th is Tiny Tina's Wonderland. This one actually got a lot of hype when it was announced. Probably more because it's a kind of like a spin-off of
Mm,
Borderlands.
mm.
I know a lot of people love Borderlands. There's a lot of people in the
Yeah.
community
Yep.
also who love Borderlands. So it's interesting because it's kind of like a D&D style looter shooter.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is just like the theme of it is it's like D&D.
Mm.
There's a lot of more like melee combat versus like shooting,
Yeah.
like the other games. So I'm sure a lot of people are probably gonna check that out. I might check that out as well, just cause I don't know. I like the theme they're going for this time around.
Yeah, and I mean Borderlands is just a solid franchise. Like I mean it's a franchise with a name to it, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
people know Borderlands games and they've been around for a while. So you start it's like the Cyberpunk, like I was saying. You know, the universe of Borderlands has a lot of stories it can still tell. And so you
Yeah,
spin off a game like, Tiny Tina's Workshop or whatever it was called. I was
Wonderland.
yeah, thank you. I had to
Yeah.
my brain, my filter had to engage there because I was gonna think of another T word that wasn't exactly appropriate.
Oh my god.
Um, so you spin games off like that, you're gonna get hype. So I think it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see it because as we're about to discuss now, releases are not always smooth.
Mm-mm.
And so yesterday or 2 days ago, as of this release on Thursday, Elden Ring released, and it was released to much fanfare. There was a lot of positive press going into it. A lot of people were excited for it. I mean, we were on a call with a friend of ours who was literally jonesing to get in. He was trying to open the game and play it at 6 p.m. Eastern because it released worldwide at one time, which I think was very interesting. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
games do that as much anymore, or they release at one time. I think they release across time zones, or at least they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So you played it, you got it, you have it on console.
Yes.
I'm hearing from PC players, and I got to see some PC gameplay today,
Yeah.
this morning, actually. Literally, as of a few hours ago, I got to watch about 2.5 hours or 2 hours of gameplay. And so my experience that I've seen and I've been hearing is very different. But why don't you tell us about what you've experienced in the hours that you've had to play with it on a console?
Yeah. So I played Elden Ring on the Series S. And I will tell you, I've only played about 2 to 3 hours or so.
Mhm.
Because it released close to midnight for me.
Right.
But I was like, I'm gonna get some type of gameplay. I've been waiting for this game, and it was smooth. I will have to tell you, I had no type of issues just in those few hours.
Okay.
Gameplay wise, awesome. Definitely Dark Souls type, just like how all the other the From Software games are. But yeah, I had a very very smooth experience. I didn't have run into any type of issues with. I know there's been like kind of like a stuttering issue on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any of that. I didn't have any type. At least for right now, just for the between the 2 to 3 hours of gameplay, haven't had any issues.
Okay. I mean, so I saw a post. I was trying to find the exact quote from somebody who booted up in a community that I'm in, and literally just was like, "This game is unplayable." It was they were just like, "This game is completely unplayable," and so there was that was one anecdote I saw. And it was somebody at Fletman, a friend of ours, who played. He got to play 7 hours of it yesterday because it released at 6 p.m. Eastern for PC, released at midnight Eastern for console. So there
For
was
console,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a different time in release times. So he got a lot. He got his hands on a lot longer, and I sort of asked him, what was his impressions being on PC. And he was saying the TLDR of it is that the game was good, but it had a lot of technical issues. He was saying that the 7 hours that he spent, this is a direct quote, of the 7 hours I spent playing, 4.5 were spent on a single boss. That boss was tough enough as it was, but adding in the stuttering took it to an extra level of difficulty I really didn't need. So that's and it's, I believe, so I was watching the gameplay that I was watching this morning was at the same boss, and there was stuttering issues to the point where it was like the boss would just warp to the player. Like, it would just, like, straight warp to the player, and it was costing, the person I was watching was just getting killed because it was just, like, he couldn't do anything to it,
Yeah.
And, as Flatman said, the boss is hard enough as it is. So, the person I was watching play stopped at 119 minutes because they were like, I'm going to refund. Now, I don't know if they're actually going to do the refund. They may wait to see if a patch comes and is sort of... worth replaying, but they were just turned off. They were like, their quote was, I want to like the game, but it's just I can't deal with the stuttering, and it's locked in at 60 frames per second on PC, which a lot of people are not happy about. For those who play PC, now I'm not sure too much about the technical aspect of that particular, why that would be such an issue, but everybody who you say, hey, it's locked in at 60 FPS on PC, they're just like, oh, why? I know that it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, where if you're playing on mouse and keyboard, you still get controller prompts.
Yeah.
So little things like that. But I feel like the stuttering is a thing that is. This game was released with such fanfare that people are just on console. It's like really smooth, apparently, but the PC port is really not up to snuff. I think if anything, it needed more time. Now I'm sure at some point we're gonna get a behind the scenes look at what the issues were, why this was the issue, but it's not a hardware issue, because the people that are playing this, or at least the person I was watching this morning, Sir Gresham, has a 3080 graphics card. His computer was built to be a beast, and it is a beast. So it's not a hardware thing, it's the game. It's not optimized. So yeah, we see that we see this over and over again where games are just not optimized properly. And it's a shame, because I believe the conversation you and I had Thursday going into it before it was released was that this could be the one game that is actually released smooth, and the hype matches the game. And here we go with a blemish on the record. Now, I don't want to, make a mountain out of a molehill. It's not anything. Some people are experiencing it. I feel like it's CyberPunk, where some people are experiencing sort of a really unplayable game. Some people aren't. I don't want to tarnish the game. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's not optimized for PC, and it's ruining some people's experiences. And it's a shame, because it was so close to being the one game where the pre-release hype, the reviews, and the gameplay could all come together and make an actually great release. And now with the PC port being not as good, and in some cases really poorly optimized, ruins that possibility.
Yeah, you were talking about reviews, and it is crazy to see that, because I think it still holds to probably at least one of the smoothest releases we've had in a while. Right?
Yeah.
It does suck that PC players are going through this, that type of bug or that optimization that's not there. But overall, there's an article that was released by IGN, and I mean, this is like not only IGN, we're talking about like Metacritic, like all these other outlets that have reviewed the game. Yeah. And it's going down right now as one of the best reviewed games in modern game history. Which is, I think it held a overall score of like 97, which matches, some classic games like Super Mario Odyssey being rated at like 97 as well. Yeah. Or like I think it was I think Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was like around 99, right? This is pretty much close. Like a lot of outlets have given this a 10 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, or 9 out of 10, right? Yeah. So it does, when you're saying that, it does kind of suck that a part of the game releasing on a different platform is suffering through a technical issue. Yeah. Versus all the other ones are, and it's so similar to like the CyberPunk, but I just don't think it's at that massive scale. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Because it's not like there's things missing or anything. Reading the reviews, they said that, this is the biggest type of Dark Souls because it's an open world. So
Yeah.
they're changing the genre and the Dark Souls genre, right? Making it more an open world, but also making it to the point where it's like still feels, very full and not empty.
Yeah. It's
Kind of like how Cyberpunk was going through
Yep.
in the beginning
Yep.
without these patches.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a bittersweet.
Yeah.
But it's like that. But I think it is probably, if not the best release we've had in a while.
Yeah.
Considering the things that PC players are going through.
Yeah, and I want to give a nod to Horizon Forbidden West for having a smooth release as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
watching some of that as late as today, and I'm still stunned by how gorgeous that game is. And I
Oh
was,
yes, dude.
it
Oh, my
is.
goodness.
I'm telling you, like the faces look full of life and everything. So, I want to tip the beanie to the folks over that made Horizon Forbidden West. That release, from my understanding, is smooth. Although they had one console to release on, so there's a caveat because I believe it's a PS5 exclusive. Because I don't even think it's out on PS4.
I think it did come out for PS4.
Okay,
I believe it came out for PS4, but we'd have to look at that. But
Yeah.
I think the main focus was
Yeah.
the PS5. But
Yeah.
I think they did make a PS4
So
version.
just tip of the cap to them for having a smooth release. But again, Elden Ring is still a good game from everything I've seen. I'm
Mhm.
not huge on the Souls-like games personally. I don't, if I'm gonna be in that much pain, there better be dinner involved. So it's just I don't see the appeal, but I enjoy watching people play it. Elden Ring looks good. And the issue that PC players are facing is a frame rate stutter issue. That's a patch thing that can be released. It's nothing, where it's game breaking so far. At least as I know, at least from everything I've heard, nothing is really game breaking. So this is something that could be smoothed out and simple and easy, and literally by, BB&J episode 5, 6, it could just be a patch is released and
Yeah.
everything's smooth. But the problem is that you only get one chance to make a first impression. And if you're someone
That's
who
true.
is waiting for this game for PC, anticipating it, and you play it, and you're not having a great experience, it sucks. And it
Yeah.
sucks that this game could have been. It's like when you get like a 9.5, right?
Yeah.
You'd give it a 9.5 for release. It's really good release. But there's still just it's not the full Monty. It's not. I feel dirty giving it a 10. So that's the part where it's kind of sad, like you say, bittersweet that one console or port that it released on was not optimized properly.
Yeah.
But that's just unfortunately that is the modern gaming world.
Yeah.
That
pretty much.
is what we.
I think, like I
come to
said, I
accept.
think that's probably the best that we're gonna get, especially in the industry how the industry's kind of going right now. That's probably the best type of launch we're gonna get, as at least for like a multi kind of
Yeah.
platform release, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but I hate that I agree with you because I hate that there's acceptable, tomfoolery tied into it. But that is just the business, the nature of the business that gaming is in now. And,
Yeah.
I'm a big gamer. You're a big gamer. I assume the people watching are decent sized gamers, if not big gamers. And with that, as we transition, you see that transition? Ooh, smooth as butter, baby. Smooth as
Ooh.
butter. Yeah, smooth as butter on a velvet toast. I don't know. That probably sounds like it's disgusting. But
Oh, okay.
we're going to talk about our best gaming experiences, and we're also going to talk about our worst gaming experiences. But let's start off with the best. I'm going to toss it to you because
Okay.
I've done the majority of the talking for the past 15 minutes. Tell us, BBNski.
Okay.
BB to the BB&J Show. Tell us your best gaming experience.
All right. My best gaming experience has to be. It was kind of hard to choose because there's a few games that I was like, oh, these are, there's definitely a few in there that you're just kind of like, they're favorites.
Some
right?
honorable mentions, yeah.
Yes, but to me, at least in the last few years of releases, I have to go with Red Dead Redemption 2. That game, I literally like lost myself in that world.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because we as a community recently,
Yeah.
recently
Yeah.
would spend hours. We had like, okay, this is how crazy it got. All right, and crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we even kind of grew the community in a way, right? With that, getting back into Red Dead Online, having a morning crew, a night crew, midday crew, like
Yep.
it was literally just going on and on and on. And and that is what that game brought to me, especially in the single player experience. Because in the single player experience, playing as the protagonist Arthur, I don't know, something, the way they wrote him, and also the way the voice actor was able to show emotion and everything through the acting. It just captured me, and I just was hooked to the game, like from start to finish. It got to the point where you even said that you felt this way too, where you were so like lost in the world and so immersed that there was points where you did not want the game to finish. And I'm not kidding. Like, I kept doing like as much side quests, as much like hunting and selling the pelts and doing side jobs and everything as much as I could, because I knew the game was closing. I knew the chapter was ending, and I was like, how much can I lengthen this game, right? So it doesn't end. It was just overall everything. Like, I'm not, like, I will tell you, I'm not sure this game came out like what, 2018 or so,
I think
right?
it was the end of 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
End of 2018.
Yeah,
okay,
that's the bet I'd take.
But something around that time, like where I don't know if there was what I was trying to say is like, I don't know if there was like many bugs or if they had to do patches or anything. I'm not too familiar. I don't remember. But at least for me, I don't recall any bugs at all. Maybe a few glitches here and there, right?
Yeah, nothing more than standard.
Yeah, but I never experienced anything and like that took me out of the immersion. But everything from taking care of your horse to grooming yourself, to just having conversations with people. Like I still recall this mechanic in the game where you're literally having a conversation on your horse, right, walking, and if they speed up too much, they will literally stop the conversation, tell you, hey, we can pick this up later. Like how much like that had, like how much I don't know, like
immersion.
The immersion that is, where you're like, oh, like this feels like a real conversation. Like, yeah, I'll catch up to you, we'll talk later. And then you catch up, you're talking about something, and then the character, the NPC is like, hey, remember what we were talking about? And you continue the conversation. It just immersed you so much, and that to me is one of the best gaming experiences I've had, like, in a long time. I definitely got lost in that game, man.
Lost in the sauce, definitely. So I mean, for me, Red Dead, I have a favorite, best gaming experience, and then I have two honorable mentions that are just quick, momentary things. Like Red Dead to me is an honorable mention. I loved Red Dead Redemption 2. I did have to take a break because I was coming out of a dark place in my life, and sort of the story. I got so immersed into the story, and I won't spoil anything. There's no spoilers. I got so immersed into the story, and I didn't realize that Red Dead was a prequel to Red Dead 2 was a prequel to Red Dead 1. Didn't understand that. So if you understand the story of the games, you know what I'm talking about. And so I got so immersed and so into it, and I was pulling for these characters, and as the game goes on, you start to see the direction that things are going and everything of that nature. And I just I had to take a break. I had to take a mental health break. That's how lost in the sauce I got, and how well written everything it was. But there is that one mission that you and I have spoken about. It's in, I think it's chapter 3 or chapter 4, where I won't say what is going on, but there's a scene in which the entire gang is riding horses, and they're riding to one location, and it's just the thud of the hooves of the horses as you're in two columns, and and it's like the ride down that little road or whatever it was, and it's like the constant thud of the horses and the music, and you're just so like, I felt my adrenaline surging. I'm like, I felt badass. I got my shotgun and I just went through there and did everything. Dying Light 1, one of the better experiences in gaming I had, but caveat, with friends. Solo, I couldn't play it. There was if you played Dying Light, you know the story and everything. This is a zombie first-person parkour game, and there's a part in which at night these really OP zombies come out, and they will, like, you can't really kill them. Like, you can if you're lucky and you have a group, and if you have UV lights, and like, you need so much. And then there's like a bunch of them roaming around, so it's like, it's kind of they're really scary. So it was me and two friends, and we were in an apartment that wasn't a safe house, and we were literally in a washroom behind a door that was like this big, and we could see on the map they were running through the apartment. They were walking through the apartment, and we sat all night in game with our shotguns trained at the door, just waiting. And it was that sort of tension, that sort of like, immersion that made me love that moment in the game. But if I had to pick a best game, all-time best gaming experience, Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect.
That's a really good game.
Yeah, Mass Effect. So I love space and that as a beginning. I love the first Mass Effect. Little funny aside, I thought Mass Effect 1 was going to be bad. I actually was so mad that they weren't making Knights of the Old Republic 3 that I was like, I'm not buying Mass Effect, man. And then it came out in December, and I saw, like, gameplay footage of it, and I was like, crap, I need it. And so I loved it. I fell in love with it. Mass Effect 2 came out, and I just poured myself into that game. I mean, yeah, there are flaws with that game, and there are, obviously, it's not the perfect game in the world. It's just the best experience I've had. Because at the time, I had no internet. I had moved away from my high school friends, so I had no friends. It was literally me and that game. And it came out in January, and I had moved to my new location like 2 weeks beforehand, and I just poured myself into that game. And I just got so lost into it. It's like you said, I didn't want it to end, and I love that after the final mission in Mass Effect, you can actually still fly around, and it's sort of you can keep playing, sort of kind of thing. So there was so many times where I would just fly around and just do nothing really, just walk around the ship and just have the same sort of I'll see you later, Commander conversations, because you exercise all the dialogue. So that was my best gaming experiences. But do you have any honorable mentions that you would put, sort of gaming moments that were like the best gaming moments that weren't exactly like, Red Dead was the game, but do you have any moments that stand out from playing games that were like the best?
I do have an honorable mention. This is an older game. This is back when I like barely started to play online games. I'm taking this back to like PS3.
Right.
Because there was a game called Resistance. There was Resistance, Fall of Man, and then Resistance 2. And, Resistance 2 is like the direct sequel to it.
Right.
But I love the franchise, right, that they did, which I am hoping, I don't know if they probably won't, but I'm hoping Insomniac Games, please, could you at least do a remaster? Because that is definitely an honorable mention because of the experience I had where it was the first time I ever played, like, online with people. And, because I was always late to getting the console or whatever, right? I was always late to the party pretty much, and I remember picking that game up randomly. I didn't know I had beaten the game, and I loved the campaign and everything, but I saw there was a multiplayer component, and I just wasn't too into multiplayer games at the time. I was always like just played campaigns or single player games, right? So it took me a while to play it, and I randomly just went back to it. I was like, oh, let me replay Resistance 2. Played it, and I remembered when I logged in, I was like, oh, there's a multiplayer, let me try it. And I will tell you that's probably biggest, if not the biggest part of my childhood, was playing that multiplayer game, because I met so many crazy people on there. So many characters. But it was just the experience of being able to play a complete multiplayer co-op game where you could just there's different classes, and you actually had to do teamwork to continue the missions. You get rewards for every mission you made. It was phenomenal. It was just so good, and I that's definitely an honorable mention because
Yeah.
it was the first like multiplayer experience that I had with like groups of people, kind of like how you had with Dying Light.
Mm-hmm.
That's how what I experienced for the first time was that game.
I have just you were thinking of that, like you mentioned childhood, two games that were, the games themselves were kind of, were actually three games. They weren't all of that, but it was
Mm-hmm.
more the experience that I got playing with my brother, my oldest brother, was Max Payne, Grand Theft Auto 3, and
Mm.
True Crime Streets of LA. We played all three at some point or another, and he didn't have at the time a PlayStation 2. He didn't really get a chance. I was the one that sort of brought him into quote unquote modern gaming.
Okay, gotcha.
And at the time, and he would come over on the weekends, and we would sit up all night, Saturday night, Friday night, and play Max Payne, Grand Theft Auto 3, True Crimes, like those. And now I'm 33 years old, so this is like 2002, 2003, and we would play like these games, and it's just, I think to me that's what gaming is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the experience. Like, yeah, we cover a lot of games and their technical sides on this
Yeah.
show, and we've done that a lot, but it's really the experience. It's the
Yes.
it's the game experience that is. Yeah, somebody could be like, "Oh God, that game looks like garbage," but it's like you sit down and you have fun playing it because either you made some friends, or you remember some memories. Like golf with friends, because to some people could look like, what is this nonsense? But when you get together with a group of people and you guys are laughing and you're having fun playing golf, golf with friends can be one of the more fun games out there, honestly. And so
It's
it's
true.
that kind of sort of thing that is the experience. That is the better side of gaming. It's the experience of meeting friends or playing with siblings and loved ones, or just being able to lose yourself in the sauce, if you will, of gaming. But there is a flip side. There is a flip side to that,
Yes, there is.
and this is this is where we're probably going to take massive. We're going to dump on some games coming up here in a moment, because we are now going to transition to the worst gaming experiences we've had, and I have one that who hot Billy Doggy. I actually had this conversation. Who was it with? I think I may have had a conversation with Gamma, and they said something where it's not complete yet, it's not fully released yet, but neither was Phasmophobia when it first came out, and you know what? Phasmophobia
Mm.
worked. But
Yeah.
BB,
True.
tell us, what was your worst gaming experience that you could recall?
There's a few games that I have that
Yeah.
were just kind of like, oh man,
Swing
like
for the
why?
fences. Swing for the
You
fences, brother.
know, like why? But I will say there's one game that recently released. I think it was late last year,
Mm.
November-ish or something. But I think for me, just because I'm such a huge fan of that franchise, that probably is one of my worst experiences, and that was Battlefield 2042.
Okay.
Because okay, I understand it now.
Yeah.
Don't get too hype on games, especially when they haven't shown you gameplay. you know,
Go
um,
on. I make a point to that, but go on.
because the thing is, like, I haven't. I've played all the Battlefields,
Yeah.
and to me, I still think the first three are the best. Battlefield, Bad Company 1 and 2, because of their campaigns, the story, everything was just so perfect in there, in those games. Which I hope that they do another Bad Company style of game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Battlefield 3 was just more into like the modern era of gaming, right? It was
Mm.
it was kind of like, oh, we're gonna do massive scale, with better graphics and all that. And Battlefield 3, I think it held on for quite a long time. I mean, there's still people who go and play it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably people playing it now because of 2042. You know,
Bet you there's more people
um,
playing it than Halo Infinite.
that too. Then 4 and 5. Oh no, 4 and then 1 came out, and then and 5, they started to kind of like decline in the whole, the experience, because it wasn't too like, it almost felt like they didn't put too much effort in the campaigns, and then they went to like try to do a like single stories where it was not like, it was like episodes, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like Hardline did that, but Hardline, I feel like it was underrated. That's probably a hot take, but I wouldn't necessarily call it like a Battlefield game. I don't think it should have been called Battlefield.
Yeah.
Hardline.
Yeah.
It should have just been its own thing, versus like it being in the Battlefield like franchise. But like with Battlefield 1 and 2, 5, they went to the episodic kind of missions where it was just like one mission is one story, the second mission is a different story, right? So you never really, like, they were amazing to see and amazing to experience, like, but they never just gave you that whole, like, you never, I guess, feel that connected to the characters, because it wasn't, you weren't with them for a long time. You were just kind of like, go here, and then that's it, right? But the gameplay and everything sort of kind of like, and the features kind of like didn't show out in those games, especially in 5, because it was like, it was released with no content. They said they were going to release content, so we were pretty much given the beta of the game, right? And then they're like, okay, well, we'll release the game in patches, right? And that's what like Battlefield
got their idea from.
Yeah, there you go. But I will say, when I played 2042, I played the beta. Now, keep in mind, I was one who pre-ordered the game. Okay, I will say that. I'll admit it. I pre-ordered the game, and I got access to the beta, right? And I'm not kidding. It was almost impossible to play.
Yeah.
Like, if I was lucky enough to get in the game, I couldn't even select the character I wanted. And they made this whole big thing now where it was like, also where like they're specialists now.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily feel unique because you're not like your own character or whatever. And they had like specialists, so you get to pick the specialist. But then I wasn't even able to like select my character, right? They took away the campaign in order to supposedly focus on multiplayer, which I have no idea what they even focused on.
Not a fan of that idea.
Yes, I wasn't a fan of it either. But I was like, you know what? Okay, if they can give me a solid ass like freaking multiplayer game that's super massive with a bunch of features in it, with this whole like weather change system they had, where like tornadoes come in and stuff, which was in the previous games as well.
Yeah.
But make it to like a super massive scale. I'm down with that, right?
Yeah.
But no, I couldn't. There was like probably a few hours where I couldn't even load into the game. There was other hours where if I loaded into the game, I couldn't select my character. Whenever you're playing in the game, your guns were not loading in. There was also like, now keep in mind, this was beta, but I was like, ooh, this is when they said this is a beta, this is our most recent kind of build. Yes, our most recent build. So I was like, wait a minute, I mean, this is kind of close to launch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This is too close to launch, and your build's kind of like this. I don't know how I feel about that. Number one thing I will say, hands down, there's no scoreboard in the damn game. Like, who does that? Why don't you have a scoreboard? That's
Basic.
like regular. Yeah, basics in every single multiplayer game that you play.
Yeah.
But it was not only that, like hit markers weren't like the hit markers weren't even showing up. You would like just unload a clip on an enemy, nothing would happen to them, but they would just one shot you. Like it was just terrible. Yeah. And it was so bad to the point where I was like, okay, I played enough of this and I'm gonna refund. And I did, and till this day I've seen it on sale multiple times because their player base is slowly declining to the point where I think they were even in talks to make it free to play. Free to play game, I don't even think it's worth that. You know,
it's pay you to play a game.
Yeah. Exactly. They should have paid me to play that game because that was that was one of the worst experience I've had in a game. especially in a franchise that I love so much, because I love like the Battlefield franchise more than, like, I guess you could say, like the one they usually compare it to is like Call of Duty,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I miss like the older Battlefield types, which I hope they would remaster. But in this one, it brought back some of the old maps and
Yeah.
some of the old like games in there, but it's just like you just lose the immersion because you just can't even play the game right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's again,
yeah.
it's a half-baked, broken game that's released and pushed out.
Yeah, and an honorable mention I will say for me as well was the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas Definitive Edition that came out recently as well. Oof. And I don't even have to get into it because
Yeah.
everyone knows. Everyone knows what that's like.
I was
You know,
so disappointed by that, honestly.
oh yeah. And the worst part is that it's Rockstar, you know? Like I was just praising them with Red Dead Redemption 2, right? You know, that's the crazy part. It's like, oh my god, Rockstar made such an amazing game and all this, and then you get something where they can like remaster it in a way,
Yeah.
and and it was like, oof, what happened there? That was just kind of like, I think people want this. Let's just, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Well,
put it there.
yeah. Exactly. Just goes to show.
I would have rather you just like said, oh hey, you can play the original game, you know, again or whatever on
Yeah.
PC or whatever.
Well, the thing is, they took away the ports, which kind of screwed it. Was screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That was also pretty not cool of them.
scummy. But just goes to show we don't play favorites. We'll praise you when you
Exactly.
deserve to be
Yeah.
praised, and we'll criticize you when you deserve to be criticized. My hands down worst gaming experience. So I've played some really awful games in my life. I play The Witcher 1 with a straight face. Okay, and you know that game is aged like milk. I will, but this was without a doubt the absolute single-handedly worst gaming experience I had because there was only like if I take the pie of my experience with this game in its totality, 95% of it was pain. There was a small glimmer, 5% slice that was good and fun, and I enjoyed it. But and even that experience, that mission, bugged at the end. And of course, I'm talking about Star Citizen. Now, I heard about Star Citizen in 2016, I think it was, or 2015. And when Squadron 42 was hyped and all of this other stuff. And I was like, all right, I'll keep an ear to it. And then every once in a while, I'd go back and check on it, and it's still in development. So we had a mutual friend, Sir Grecky, who I think discovered he had a pledge to it or something. And I decided, you know what? I've been wanting to play this game. It released this update recently that was, you know, supposedly really big and massive and whatever, and promised some of the things to the sort of open world sandbox that was not done before. And so I bought it, and I think you did as well. And we had some other friends who either decided to buy it or found that they had already pledged years ago and said, oh, okay, why not? And so we had a little group of people playing, but it was just so broken. I mean, when I say broken, I don't mean like, oh, there's a bug here, you know, it's a glitch, somebody's T-posing in the... No, this game was the single most broken, buggy game I have ever played, and I have been playing video games for 27 years. I have never been more frustrated by a game than this game. You would load in, first of all, the load times are absolutely fucking ridiculous. It would take you 4.5... Like, if I wanted to play now... Right now, it is 9:30 on the East Coast of the United States. If I wanted to play now, I would have had to have loaded this game at like 5:30 just to get smooth. It takes forever to load.
Yeah.
It then, when it does load, the launcher loads. It takes forever for it to, like, it puts you on this loading screen, the secondary loading screen, for another 4.5 hours. Then, when it loads, half the game doesn't even, it's not in. You can go to either your apartment door or some door along the way to the freaking hangar that you have to go find, which, good luck finding that. And you'll open, and it'll be just a wall of blackness. Now, if you were brave enough to take a step outside, guess what? You might fall through the map and die and lose everything you have. That's if you were lucky. If you were lucky enough to get out of your bed, because guess what? This game is so broken that you might stand up and get your head stuck in a cabinet above your bed, and you're stuck. That's it. There's nothing you can do, but there's a kill yourself button, because they know how freaking broken this game is and decided to put that in. You die and you lose all your stuff. It's maddening. It is maddening how bad this game is, how broken this game is. I was talking to somebody, and they were like, "Well, this game, it's not released yet. It's not finished." Bull malarkey. I don't care. Poppycock. I say poppycock, because you know what game was in early access? Phasmophobia. Now, different type of game, sure, whatever. But you know what? Even Crab Game, which is free and like one guy works on it, is more stable than this damn game. Crab Game is more stable than Star Citizen. I was telling this person about an experience Sir Grecki and I had one morning. So I think the last time I played this game, we were looking at starships and seeing how cool they looked. Like, there was one that was like a guild ship, basically, where it's got like a lot of pilot seats in the bridge, for people to do different things. One guy has to operate missiles, and the other person is driving, and there's beds, and there's all this cool stuff, and you got to walk through a hallway to find it. Now, he's screen sharing, because I think I was somewhere else or something, and he's like walking through the ship, and he's like all this cool stuff, and then he presses a button and falls to the floor and dies. That was the perfect Star Citizen experience. That game, look, I was excited for Squadron 42 before I played it. Now, I don't think I will get Squadron 42 as much as excited as I was for it. I don't trust this game. Like, I can't trust Robert Spacin, whatever the developers' names are. It's like, I had to struggle to uninstall it. I couldn't get it off of my computer. It's like the brokenness extends to the installer. It is just bad. I cannot say enough how much, like, my blood pressure is rising just remembering how bad it is. I have never been more upset over $40 in my life.
I totally understand you. And that 5% was honestly bold, because I back you up on everything you just said. I definitely back you up, because it is terrible. Like, there was, like, when it works, right, which is almost never, right, it is it's a unique experience. Yes. I'm not gonna say it's like amazing or anything. It's just a unique experience that you get to try and, like, live in this, because I also love, like, space and space games, but, like, it's such a unique experience being in that game and playing with your friends and being to see each other and, like, get in a ship and go to another planet and trying to fight, doing the space flights. I mean, I had that experience where I literally, like, my guns disappeared from my ship. So I went to go back up Sir Grecki, and I couldn't, because I had no guns on my ship. Like, what happened to my guns, Yeah. And so I totally understand. Like, it's definitely 95% of the time it's completely broken. But that 5%, it's very unique. It's very unique, because it just makes you feel like you're in that space world where you're just like, you're in the future, right? Yep. I mean, I will have to say, it's probably the small things that get you more than the huge things, like the space battles and the because, like, just going on a to the station and having to travel in that little, the little tram, right, that takes you all the way to that's such a unique experience. Like, it feels like you're part of that world. You get in, and that's what you would do in real life. If you were in the space station, you would go get onto that and go to your ship hangar or whatever. So there's just very, very small things that make it so unique. But other than that, I totally agree with you. 95% of the time, it is bad.
I think part of my frustration and passion is because I see the potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Definitely.
that's where it makes me so upset because it's if you were to tell me, hey, there's this game, it's in space, you can have an apartment, you live on a space station, you have to go to the hangar, there's public transportation, there's shops, there's all these, it's like a hub station. You then have to go get in your plane or your ship in a hangar, and you actually have to leave the atmosphere of the area before you can hyper jump, and your friends could meet you at a planet, and you guys could all get into a shootout, and it could be this cool experience where you guys are all on a shared mission coming from different ports, and you can do the mission and then all go your separate ways or hang out together or whatever. Like, you each get your own unique individual ship. I would be like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the concept is really cool because it's like, like there's a thing where you can video call each other in game, and it's like, if you have your camera set up, it's synced to your mouth. But again, these are the things that somebody somewhere was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we can do X? And somebody was like, yeah, let's do it. And they put it in, and it breaks 9 other things, and it's barely functional. There isn't someone there, I don't think, to be like, no, this isn't working enough. Continue stabilization.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things that made me so upset was when we were towards we played it for a little bit in December, and towards the point at which we were playing it, there was a point in which this major patch released, and I'm like, oh good, maybe a stability fix or something. No, anti-cheat. And it took me 20 minutes to download this patch, on top of the 45 minutes it takes me to freaking load the game, all for some nonsensical anti-cheat. I was so upset because I was just like, of all the things this game needs to be working on right now, this doesn't even crack the top 100. And so I get so mad at the potential it has, because as much as I love space, there was one mission we did where we all landed on a planet, and we all had guns, and we went in and we were shooting, and it was clear out a base kind of type of mission. And it was kind of cool because we all parked in different areas and approached from different arears, and we all had different types of things. And one person was down, and it was like, all right, I'll carry this person out. You guys continue the mission. And it was fun until it stopped because the last person bugged. You couldn't find them. You couldn't complete the mission. So it was the one time it was fun, the game sucked all the fun out of it.
Yeah, it's okay, you had too much fun.
Yeah. So it was just so bad. I want to say, as an honorable mention, there was a game that I played way back in 2005, I think, or 2004, maybe. No, it was 2005. It was called WrestleMania 21 for the Xbox original. That was a WWE game that was so broken. It was so broken. It was Star Citizen level of broken, but you could play it. It didn't fight you. I still was able to have fun. But it was so broken that, literally, on the start menu, if you pressed all the buttons at once, it unlocked everything. The devs forgot to take out their, cheat thing. Devs, they have the thing to unlock everything to test it. Yeah. If you pressed all the buttons all at once and held down the triggers, you would just unlock everything. Just like that. So it was such a broken game. But I was able to have some fun with it. But it was just broken and bad and not worth, But that was, again, this is why Star Citizen is the worst, because I was able to have some fun with it. There was at least a few moments. If I had to take that pie, I would say it was about 45% fun, 55% misery. Where Star Citizen is just, it is sitting on a rusty cactus, I'm telling you.
I mean, it's the biggest thing is you could go from being this badass space pirate or mercenary space cowboy, right? For 15 minutes, and then the game just decides that it seems that you've been having too much fun, so we're just going to ruin your experience from now on.
Yeah.
And we won't even do it consecutively, at least from now on to this point. No, we'll do it at random points.
And that's
I still remember that one time when when I think it was Gamma was coming down the elevator and he was attacked by chairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what?
Just randomly attacked by hospital chairs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That was
And that's after you spend like the 10 minutes letting the game
Yes.
load. After you load it in,
Yes.
because it was
Yes.
it was a slideshow, because the frame drops were just so. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
I think where I start, Cyberpunk I think is salvageable. Star Citizen just isn't. I think Star Citizen is just no.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if it actually ever comes out, you know? This
Well-
is like alpha to the alpha.
This is we're in numbers. This doesn't even deserve letters. This is like 0.0. It was just some guys on a Macintosh in the 90s.
Oh my.
But that is the episode for today. Normally at this point we would do our wider world of weird news. But given the news of the world, we didn't feel it was quite as appropriate to come out here and sort of find funny news with all the news that is going on. So instead, we're just going to say a prayer for the people of Ukraine and hope that as many people can stay safe as possible. So for BB&J, this is episode 4 of the BB&J Show. We thank you all so much from the bottom of our hearts for watching. We hope that you like what we put out. Please consider subscribing and dinging our dong so that way you know when you get videos, when we put videos out next time. BB, any closing words?
No, same with you. Yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, checking us out, and much love to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We hope we've provided you with at least some entertainment. Until next time, that's BB. I'm Jay. It's been the BB&J Show. Stay safe and take care of yourselves.